So yesterday we talked a bit about Mia Khalifa expressing her support for Hamas, and I find it deplorable. But it is what it is. I mean, we're dealing with a massive conflict, and of course, you're going to see a lot of the support from the far left. But now it is being reported that Playboy has fired Mia Khalifa over her support for Hamas. She's doubled down, calling Hamas freedom fighters and defending what was the killing of civilians. I mean, there's tons of videos of it. So if you don't believe it or whatever, you go on Twitter and you can't escape it. I certainly understand propaganda. I understand fake videos can be made. But yeah, there's too many of these videos from too many angles. So the only real conspiracy theory that could come close to reality is that Israel knew it was coming and did nothing, which I also don't believe. I mean, come on. There's tons of things that Israel can do if they're trying to justify some kind of action in Gaza or whatever. This has been absolutely insane. But let's jump now to the question of free speech and where we're currently at. We have this from Just the News. Playboy and others fire Mia Khalifa after porn star mocks slaughter of Jews in Israel. Playboy and other media outlets fired the Lebanese porn star after she glorified the rape, kidnapping, and slaughter of Jews in Israel. Here's a quote. Playboy has always been a champion of free speech. They said in an email to Khalifa after deleting her channel on its creator platform. We also have no place in our company nor on our platforms for speech that is hateful and dehumanizing. Your recent statements celebrating Hamas attacks on innocent men, women, and children in Israel, including rape, mutilation, killing, and torture, are disgusting and reprehensible. Okay. Is this cancel culture, my friends? She was expressing her opinion. Should she be fired for it? Let's read a little bit more, and then I'll get into that moral philosophy. Khalifa made several controversial posts on X, formerly Twitter, after Hamas invaded Israel, resulting in the deaths of more than 900 Israelis. I believe it's substantially more than that. I think it's up to 1,600 now. 11 Americans are dead. Hamas, the U.S. State Department designated terrorist organization that controls the Gaza Strip, also claims to have kidnapped 100 Israelis. I believe this is what she said. If you can look at the situation in Palestine and not be on the side of Palestinians, then you are on the wrong side of apartheid, and history will show that in time. Dude, they killed civilians. They tore down the fences, stormed in, and murdered civilians. If you can't see the difference between people fighting for freedom and those who have an ideological bent to murder anyone in the area, let's play a game. Group of people are on land, milling about doing their thing. A bunch of other people with more powerful weapons come in and then put those people in a camp. The people in that camp say, I got an idea. Anyone here 75 years later is a fair target. It's like, dude, listen. You want to break free? You want to get out? I get it. You want to talk about war? We can reduce it all the way back thousands of years. It's never going to end. The people who are arguing it's actually their homes, bro, people are arguing. This is the issue. And everyone thinks they're smarter and they know all the answers. Say, you're naive. You don't get it. Both sides say this. I don't care anymore. You've got one group saying, it's my land. There's another group saying, it's my land. Yeah, but before it was yours, it was mine. Before it was yours, it was mine. What am I supposed to do? I got no answers for you. I can only tell you, how do we stop the fighting? If one group is going around and killing civilians, and it's on video, I don't know what to tell you. They say that Israel's bombing civilian targets. Yeah, they're bombing targets. That it makes no sense militaristically for Israel to just randomly blow up civilians. They're targeting areas where there are weapons stored and the Hamas leadership is using as base of operations, and they use human shields. Hamas, as we've already seen from far leftists, believe that anyone there is a colonizer stealing their land and their fair game. I don't know what to tell you. And this is what Mia Khalifa is defending. But again, this is not, brutal subject. In another post, which has since been removed from the platform, Khalifa said, can someone please tell the freedom fighters in Palestine to flip their phones and film horizontal? This is a really funny thing. Sirius XM Canada radio host and comedian Todd Shapiro became the first person to fire Khalifa, which he did via X, saying, consider yourself fired effective immediately, simply disgusting, beyond disgusting. Please evolve and become a better human being. The fact you are condoning death, rape, beatings, and hostage taking is truly gross. No words can explain your ignorance, Shapiro said Saturday evening. Khalifa responded to Shapiro on Sunday, saying, I just want to make sure there's 4K footage of my people breaking down the walls of the open air prison they've been forced out of their homes and into. So we have good options for the history books that write about how they freed themselves from apartheid. Please worry about your sad little company lacking direction and purpose before you utter my name again. Absolutely detestable. There's videos of civilians being murdered, and these people lie about everything. That's all I can say. I'm disgusted by it. And it's interesting questions. I think we have moral lines. I do. When it comes to cancel culture, the problem is not that someone might be fired for saying a naughty word. The problem is when words are taken out of context, and the problem is when they dig into your history, and regardless of your actual stance today or apologies or however you feel, they attack you and try and get you fired. Somebody posts 10 years ago, controversial opinion. They then say, hey, this person posted a nasty thing 10 years ago. And I'm like, shut up. Okay, that's just stupid. Someone says something and they say, what he really meant was this. Okay, you're fired. What? No, I didn't. For example, one of the first instances of cancel culture was a woman who was flying, she was on a plane, and she made a post about AIDS in South Africa. It was meant to be snarky and actually a fairly woke joke. But instead it was taken as racist and she lost her job. I'm like, dude, come on. Seriously? I'm torn. I really am. Obviously, there are people at Timcast who are very anti-establishment, anti-neocon, and oppose a lot of what Israel is doing. You're allowed to have your opinions, but boy, does it get heated. So my view on this is, man, it's tough. I don't know that I can absolutely say that if someone at Timcast made the statements Khalifa made, I would immediately fire them over it. I don't know that I could do that. But I would lean towards maybe you don't want to be here is the bigger question. But we've had people who work here who have tweeted very shocking things, and I never tell people to take it down. I just won't do it. I just don't. There have been certain circumstances where we've had people post things that are shocking, controversial statements, and my only response is, have you considered what the ramifications of your statement and your media posts would be in the greater public? And the answer is yes. And I said, okay, all right. What can I say? There are certainly there are moral lines I have where I do think someone could post something where I'd absolutely be like, dude, I'm sorry, I don't want to work with you anymore. And that's it. No one is entitled to the money of the Timcast, corporation. And if you hold certain views that are extreme and abhorrent, that would escalate things to war, conflict, and violence, and I decide that I don't want to work with you over it, I think that's actually fair. It's a mutual arrangement. It is not a punishment. It is not like, how dare you defy my whims? It's, hey, like, I don't think we mesh as a group. Maybe we should go our separate ways. But I've not done that. And I don't know. I think I have a higher tolerance than many on the left. The left, like, you say something like, I just kind of want to vote for Trump. You're fired. You're racist. You're hateful. And that's the issue. The issue I think we take is more of where our moral frameworks lie. And, for me, it's kind of like if there's videos of civilians being murdered and you're gloating and laughing and celebrating it, I'm probably going to have an issue with that. And, I honestly don't know what my initial reaction would be. I think there would be like a meeting, a conversation, and it wouldn't be so knee jerk. Like if someone like Mia Khalifa was working here and said something like this, I'd probably be like, let's talk. Let's have a conversation about it. And then my response would probably just be like, if we don't agree on this, I only ask you to really tone it down because, dude, I oppose war, conflict, and civilians being murdered. And we have values that we represent here. Like we're fairly anti-intervention here. Cassandra Fairbanks, for instance, she's been tweeting quite a bit. She's 100% absolutely anti-intervention. And that's absolutely okay. Totally fine. I just don't know if I could ever work with somebody who would justify the murder of civilians, be it Palestinian or Israeli. Right? I think, as I've stated, it's like, I don't like that civilians die in Israel, but it's war and I don't have any answers. If Hamas storms in and kills civilians, but then claims they're returning home, I see that as a lie. If Israel says we are targeting Hamas and the Al-Qassam brigades and we've given warning to civilians, it's bad. It's still bad. Civilians shouldn't be dying. That's why it's like when people call for a ceasefire, I'm like, man, it's tough. A ceasefire after Hamas kills a bunch of people and continually fires rockets, 5,000 rockets. What do we do? I don't know. I just don't. And so I just hope that everybody has one simple stance of we all recognize civilians dying is bad and we hate it. We lament it. I'm sorry it's happening. You start there and I say, okay, I don't see any justification for what Hamas did. Killing civilians, they didn't need to do that to attain their objectives. Burning down houses, I watched a video. That videos could be fake. I get it. But I'm like, dude, I don't think all these videos are fake, man. I saw a video of people being killed point blank range. Like these videos that come up are brutal. Some of them I think are probably fake. It's war. It happens. It's propaganda. But when they celebrate this stuff in New York. So this is the big question I have for all of you, I suppose, as it pertains to Mia Khalifa. Should she be fired for this? Or should they just be like, you have your opinions, man. We don't come to you for your opinions on Israel. I think, obviously, as people pointed out, if your boss has the last name Shapiro, you might want to consider not celebrating the death of Jewish civilians in this conflict. But this is war. War is hell. I think people could be, even if you support Palestine, right? And there are people who absolutely do. You can at least come out and be like, no one supports or no one should be supporting what Hamas did. Okay? It is detrimental to the people of Palestine. It is detrimental to the stability of the region. And storming in by a paraglider and everything they've done, it did not help the people of Palestine. It made things worse, and it continually made things worse. But the problem is these people are ideologues, and they've resigned themselves to say they would rather lose and see civilians die than give up the fight. What do you do? There's a lot of questions. If your neighborhood was taken over by far left extremists, your buildings were seized, and your city gone, and you were kicked out, and then you're like, well, how would you feel about that? Would you just say, it's it? They've won? Would you fight back? I mean, honest question. And that's how these people feel. I don't see why you would go in and Antifa takes over a bunch of buildings, rents it out, several years later to some like random family. How does it make sense to go in and then attack the family? That's just how I see it. I'm like, I can understand wanting your land back if it was seized by oppressive forces in your view. But how does that justify just burning down properties and killing families? You're not securing territory. You're just killing people. So I guess that this is a tough question. Should Mia Khalifa have been fired? I got to be honest. I lean slightly towards, yeah, not should be, but the guy who owns the company has a right to do it. And these are shocking statements. But I wonder if there's better ways of dealing with this. And the reason why I say this is when it comes to cancel culture, the questions are, is it out of context? Is it old or in the past? Did it come from the person? Is it a true story? Are there other ways to resolve the issue? And more importantly, I think they may have been, they may have done more towards peace and understanding if they approached her in private before just firing her publicly. I'm not the arbiter of morality, my friends, but I do think that when it comes to whether or not someone should be banned for speech, it's not really about free speech. A lot of people just recognize there were moral lines. And for this one, a lot of people rejected it. But I don't know. I honestly think her statements are disgusting, but it's tough. Was she advocating for more death is the question. For me personally, it feels like when you get to that point where you're celebrating the murder of civilians, like you've crossed a moral line that I can't support. If your advocacy is opposed to war because of the death of civilians and because of this conflict and stuff, I get it. But I don't know. I'll throw it to you guys. What do you think? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.